Okay, this is day one. You can see I've got Erro tied up just up against that fence post back there. And what I have a square pen, so there's round pens and square pens, and this is the doorway into the square pen. And I'll do a video on the square pen. I worked Marky in the square pen, and he actually did quite well. It's very, very helpful for him. So they're my assistant she's in the process of training her own Mustang right now. Just handed me a little tiny black flag. And now I'm just going to take him off of his lead rope. So I'm taking the halter all the way off, and I just want him to be at liberty. That means he's just roaming totally free. We had worked a little earlier on his pulling back, and so that knot is pretty tight because he had pulled back on the patient's pull a couple times. He actually did quite well with that. So here we go. He's now, and you'll see, I'm just waving that little flag, and then he comes and approaches it, and then you see I'm doing as little as possible. So every time he takes his face away from the flag, the trailer, I just wave that flag. So waving the flag creates stimulus, and what you're trying to do is anytime you're creating stimulus, you're doing as little as possible, but as much as necessary. And so that's two wings of the same bird, right? So I want to be as gentle and soft, but I'm going to create boundaries and be as firm as I need to. So here we're just kind of dancing. He doesn't know what I'm asking him to do. I'm going to let him kind of piece that together, right? You see he's avoiding the back of the trailer. And so he just runs over. And every time you see right there, he would face it. See, I got him to stop only because as soon as he faces it, I quiet down. So once we get him to do what we want, we release the stimulus, or we quiet down the stimulus. And then all of a sudden they'll start figuring it out and putting it together, like, oh, if I just face into this trailer, for example, well, then that stimulus goes away. And notice that the very first thing he does is he gets curious. And when they get curious and when they're thinking, remember, they're putting their head down. So what you're going to see is a lot of licking and chewing. See that big breath right there? That licking and chewing is, there's a nerve that runs down in their face, and what the neuroscientists say is that as soon as dopamine hits that nerve, it causes the jaw to lick and chew. The way I try to describe it to people, see him rubbing his Febreze on the side of the wall, and he's done it on the floor, and he's going to keep doing that. That's just him being curious, and this is what we want. This is overcoming the fear. And so that licking and chewing is when dopamine is hitting the system. In other words, they've had time to process. If you get licking and chewing, whatever you've done it right. And so his mind is just processing these things. Now they can check out. Sometimes they'll just stand there and they'll mentally check out. And so I want to keep his mind engaged. He tried to take a step away from it, and then the stimulus showed back up. And I'm just going to let this go as long as he's not checking out. So There's no time frame on this. The principle is just take the time it takes, but he needs to be engaged with it, not checking, not disconnecting. Sometimes you'll have a horse that will just, you get to the point where you can sense it or feel it and see it, and it's as if they're like, I'm just going to ignore this guy, and if I just don't look at him, then he doesn't exist. And so when you get that, you might add a little stimulus to just kind of get the mind engaged again. Right? So he's just, all he's doing is he's just, that movement, every time they're moving like that, there's nothing wrong. He's not doing the wrong thing. They never do the wrong thing. He's just saying, I just don't know if I'm safe enough. So right there, he kind of, he actually got a little aggressive, almost like he I don't know how you'd say that. He like showed himself in a way as if he was going to kick me. And he does it right there a little bit. And that's fine. I mean, I'm not going to get kicked. He just has to say like, oh, okay, well, I got to try this. Maybe if I do this, then I don't have to face this trailer. And I'm like, go for it. You're still going to face that trailer. And so here, his head is really high. He's kind of stiff in the body. We're going to wait for him to soften on this. And if you just see, every time he starts to just disengage from this trailer, I just wave that flag as little as I have to. Little as possible, as much as necessary. It's the micro movements in the muscles that will tell you everything. There's the licking and chewing. So it took him, a bit to start processing, like, okay, I'm okay. And I'd stand here all day long. Like, this is what I do, right? I got nothing else to do. So as long as he's engaged, we do this for 8 hours. Now, I don't think he'll want to do it, and he'll put it all together. He'll piece it together, and he'll get in that trailer before, I mean, he'll go as long as he needs to go, and he's a smart guy, and so I think he's gonna overcome things as long as we can go at his pace. There's more licking and chewing. Now notice his head is getting lower and lower, and just in little micro adjustments. A little bit lower right there, more licking and chewing. This is how you'll overcome anything and everything. What happens is people don't give their horse the time to process, or what I'm going to say, they don't give their horse the time to be able to think through it, feel safe about it, and then get that licking and chewing going, which is just dopamine hitting the bloodstream. So once dopamine is hitting the bloodstream, all we're doing is we're resetting the chemical within the body, right? So we're going to start getting dopamine and serotonin. His body position right there is what they call the parasympathetic, and that's coming from giving him the time to process these things. Humans have a parasympathetic nervous system as well, or a state, and those ears, when they're kind of cocked back like a 45-degree angle, it's what they call soft ears. And when you get a low head, soft eyes are like really slow blinking eyes, almost like they're gonna fall asleep. They're not really, they just feel that they're basically got so much dopamine and serotonin running in their bodies that they feel totally calm. And when they feel calm, they can think. And so you don't have to teach a horse to do anything. You just got to get him into a state of being able to think through his problem that he's got to solve that you're presenting to him. See right there, he was giving us all the right signs. His emotions were great. Everything was really good. And I felt like okay, dude, you're there. So now give me a little bit more. So while he's in that parasympathetic state, I created a little bit of stimulus, which is to suggest, hey, give me some more. And as soon as I did that, he then started getting curious. So he's converting his caution to curiosity. And that's how you bridge the gap from caution to confidence, is you got to get them curious. And this is the same with humans. Right? We're looking for how soft and slow can he go.